Good morning, Internet. I'm Ryan Ingram, and this is the Friday morning live stream. So let me know if there's a really bad echo in here. It might not work. This is the new office that we have moved into. So this is the first live stream, and I think there's going to be a pretty big echo until we actually move in here and get fully established. But if it's not too bad, if it's bearable, then we will continue on. So as always, post any questions in the chat. Put my trusty disclaimer up saying I'm not legal or professional advice and seek a professional counsel before you go ahead and do anything. Thank you. Yeah, this is exciting. I'm also excited to be in the new office. As you can see, we just moved in, so we've got this camping chair here. I'm really excited to have a fireplace in the background. So we don't have the gas insert yet, but soon we will. Soon we will. Let's see. Today's a really big day for me. We have 6 properties that we're closing today. So we're buying 6 homes. Let me pull up which ones there are and tell you where we found those. So we're closing on 6 properties a day. 2 of them are from the MLS, and the rest are off-market properties from wholesalers. So that's a decent spread. That's not hateful. It's been a while, but it's been a while since we've closed that many properties, but it should be pretty fun. Thanks. Yeah, super pumped. This window here is still missing some framing, so that's another piece that still needs to be done. But this window has the framing. So at one point, these two will look exactly the same. It's pretty fun. But yeah, I'm really excited. Feels good. And at the other office that I was at, there was only room for me. It was like a 400 square foot office. And as our team is growing, I think it's just really important for us to be all in the same spot together. And now here we are. No, we don't do anything with land. We have a few vacant lots that we own just because they are adjacent to properties that we own. So if we notice a vacant lot near properties that we own, we do our best to try and figure out how to get it, but that doesn't always happen necessarily. And we don't go out of our way to buy vacant lots. We were offered a couple here lately, and we passed on them just because there's no real need. The only thing that you can really do with a vacant lot, because the market is not yet ready for us to build new, so we spend a lot of time mowing vacant lots and collecting trash or picking up trash from it. However, as soon as it makes sense for us to build, I will likely start acquiring just some vacant lots throughout the city because I think it would make sense at that point. But until then, it does not. And we don't do any type of developing. So there's no sense or good reason for us to buy like a bunch of acres and try and figure out how to divide it up or anything. Yeah, that makes sense. If it makes sense to build in your area, then I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to buying vacant lots. And that's one of the cool things about real estate investing. I know I've said this a couple of times, but it is truly, there's just as many different ways to make money in investing in real estate as there are people investing in real estate. Let me go through and see if I can find any questions. No, also, we've gotten a few good questions via the app or via the comment section in YouTube. So one of the questions that we got, which was right after the live stream last week, was how can one register with private lending company, or do I have to stand alone if I want to become a private lender? Yeah, I would, if you are going to become a private lender, I would just do it on your own accord. I would not go through a company. I would maybe seek some counsel and pay like a consultant to help you get started, do all the paperwork appropriately, maybe talk to an attorney. But I would not lend through an entity. And just the reason being is you're going to do a little bit more due diligence yourself. But once you get into the rhythm of it, you're not going to have like another company or another firm that you have to pay or share some of your returns with. So you're going to be able to make more money, which is going to be more impactful if you just do it yourself. And learning and having knowledge is a lot like compound interest, right? So it's exponential. And learning how to do your own private lending, I think, is a really, really powerful tool that's going to give you positive control over your investments more so, which is really important. And then another good question is, how do you go about dealing with renters that trash the rental and leave you with big repair expenses? Do you carry insurance to cover that first and last month deposit, damage deposits, or what? Thanks for the videos and information. So the biggest thing that you can do to prevent this is do screening appropriately. So the better you screen the person on the front end, the less likely they are to trash your property and leave you with massive damages on the way out. So I would highly recommend that you sit down, speak with people in your market, figure out most companies' screening criteria, and then develop your own. And if you have anything that you want to incorporate in that, then I would go ahead and do so. I would also make sure that you take some classes on like the equal housing opportunity. Make sure you don't violate that stuff in any type of way. That's a big deal. And then other than that, I would say it's just part of the industry. It's part of the business. You kind of have to account for someone damaging your stuff at some point. I would hope it is a rarity, but not always. So all of the times that we have experienced this, it's been as a result of a resident that we inherited when we purchased the property. Very seldom are we left with really big damages when we have placed the individuals, because we make it very clear on the front end that, hey, we're going to have these properties for a really long time. We want you to take care of them. We're going to take care of them. Make work orders as you need. And if it's needed, we're going to fix it. We're going to fix it right the first time. We're not going to do any sort of deferred maintenance. We don't want those on our properties. So that goes a long way. There isn't any insurance specifically for renters damaging your property. I have heard of some people getting it in like the vandalism and coverage under that. However, for the most part, causing excessive wear and tear is not something that can be insured against. So, and then another thing about the deposits, first and last month deposit, damage deposits. The funny thing about real estate investing is you can't possibly it's really expensive. It's a really capital intensive industry. You can't charge someone a deposit high enough to cover all of the damages that they could potentially do. Similarly, when I've spoken about capital expenditures and repairs and maintenance as people are analyzing properties and assuming that 10%, I don't think you could possibly set aside enough money on a monthly basis to cover all of the things that need to be done on those properties. So there's that. And same with deposits. No matter how outrageous the deposit, they could always damage a property far more significant than the amount that you could collect from them. So I would place a heavy emphasis on screening properly. I would place another heavy emphasis on having reserves and making sure that you're planning for that occasion where it will occur. And then the other thing that I would encourage everyone to do, which we're attempting to get better at, is regularly inspect the property. I know a lot of people that have a handful of properties will go around and hand deliver new furnace filters and maybe even install them yourself. That is a really good reason. Preventative maintenance is going to allow you to go in, see the property, see how people are living, and you can, adjust and critique from there. However, at any scale, it's really difficult to do that. So we have partnered with a company called Rent Check, and we are using them, and it's really cheap, all things considered. And what Rent Check is it is a software or an app that allows you to, it is a resident facing app. So the person that's living in the property, they will pull up the app on their phone and they'll do a self inspection. So Rent Check will prompt them to take pictures of all the rooms, anything in particular, like the electric service panel, the furnace filter, anything that you really want them to do. They will prompt the resident to take pictures of it. Now, as we have implemented this, it has allowed us to see several work orders, and it has allowed us to fix several things in these properties that the resident hadn't yet complained of. So I'm a huge fan of that. And that's going to help us because some people don't report things because they don't think it's a big deal. And over time, it is pretty detrimental to the property. Small leaks in kitchens and bathrooms are probably the biggest culprits here. Some people that aren't familiar with real estate or construction in any sense might think that a small bathroom leak is no big deal. Meanwhile, it is completely rotting away the subfloor. So we have purchased several properties that have had leaning bathroom floors that we needed to repair just because it has been an unreported leak for so long. So we're optimistic with our relationship with Rent Check. You can set it up to where it's a quarterly, a monthly, or even semi-annually inspection. And we've had a significant amount of success with that. And the way that we are currently implementing that software is we're requiring people to do it. We're giving them like a 30-day window to complete it. And then if they don't get it done in those 30 days, then we will send them constant reminders. And if they just never complete it, then we have one guy that goes around and does them himself. So hopefully that wards away any big issues and big destruction. Because what we found is on a couple of occasions, there were some. Good morning. You're fine.
How are you?
Oh, pretty good.
Yeah.
Doing a live stream here on YouTube. Oh, you're fine. We moved into this office, but there's still a lot to be done. So we have a crew here helping us get this thing fully move-in ready. And we found on several occasions where people would have dogs in the basement and they would just be, pooping in the basement. And our straw was when this happened to us twice. It's just like, had we known, first off, that they had animals, second, that they were treating them this way, then we would have intervened significantly faster than just when they moved out. And it takes about $5,000 to completely remedy that situation, to remove all the dog poop, to sanitize, to seal, and then to deodorize. It's a really difficult process. So Rent Check in our minds is our secret and our new tool and piece of technology that we can use to make sure that people are not destroying or running our properties into the ground. because that is the exact opposite of what we want, right? We want to provide really quality housing for a very long time. Good morning. Do you work the foreclosure market? I try to, but we've bought several properties from foreclosures. We've bought a couple from auctions, and then we've also purchased several from like HUD homes. So after they go to auction, after the bank bids and owns them, we'll buy them. I like doing it that way better because you have access to the interior. The properties that we purchased at an auction are always really rough on the inside, which, you know, is part of the course of it. But at the same time, it's a lot easier to plan for and to know exactly what type of deal you're getting if you have access to the interior. I know a hard money lender that doesn't know how to read or write. He does everything through his attorney and a title company. That's awesome. That's really cool. Good morning. Yeah, happy I owe you an email. Really looking forward to getting down there. It's not off my radar. All right. Why are you still buying in South Florida? North Florida is full of great price properties, said from somebody that lives in North Florida. Yeah, it's all about where the opportunity is. I sat down this past week, I believe, maybe the week before that, with a fella, and he was trying to figure out how to invest in his local market, where properties were, you know, $300,000 for a rental. Not all markets are meant to be invested in, right? Especially if you are not a hedge fund and you don't have access to a surplus of funds at great interest rates, then you should probably only invest where there's plenty of opportunity. All right. Any questions you got in the chat? Feel free. Let me go through and see if I've got any more questions in this. This would you rather. I've had so much fun with this would you rather polls. Man, so much spam on this channel now. If you see any comments about any sort of investments, and you guys are all really smart on this channel, there are so many spammers in the comments. Don't trust any of them. Nice. Yep. We're selling one property. We don't do it often, but it is in a suburb. Prices have gone up exponentially, significantly more so than any of the other areas. We purchased it a while back, I think in 2018, for $35,000 or somewhere around there. And we're going to put it on the market for right around 150, I believe, is where we're going to start at. So we're selling that one. Really, the only reason that we're selling it is not the appreciation that it's experienced, but it takes us about an hour to an hour and a half round trip to get to that property from our main portfolio and back. So it really eats into the day whenever we have to go service that location. So since it's so far out, we just want to kind of really focus and be really concentrated in the market that we are. Runner gunner. I like that. I'm looking to purchase my first property in Ohio. I'm in the process of getting pre-approval. What would my next step be? I do not have a property yet. I just know that I want to start in Ohio. Awesome. Where do you live that you are investing in Ohio? Also, thank you for your time and content. I just stumbled onto your channel a few days ago and it's gold. Thank you. Yeah, high praise. I appreciate that. Um, so after you get pre-approved, I think it's just a matter of finding a property that you want to purchase. As simple as that sounds, I would really focus on the area. There's a lot of ways to make really good returns, and I would not look at an investment property as um, like a black and white rate of return and making your decision based on the amount of money it makes versus the expenses. I would really focus and concentrate on the area. Make sure that it is an area that you want to invest in. And I say that especially because in the single family home space, it's not like you're buying an apartment where have 20, 30, 40 units in one swoop and you just care about that one building. If single family homes are a long-term investment. Okay, so you live in New York. Yeah, that makes sense. Single family homes are a long-term investment. They are something that you're going to have for 30 years is what the loan term is. So I would go ahead and plan for those 30 years and make sure that you are in a community that kind of resonates with you, that you want to see and help be a part of improving. I would not look at, one house and say, this is a good investment. I would want to then buy another house on that street, another house around the corner. And I am a fan of being very concentrated in an area to kind of help improve the community. Any sort of rundown home, rundown vacant lot, figure out, how you can improve that. Now, obviously, returns are very important. So definitely make sure that it's going to be a profitable venture for you. But I would place the community over the asset, and probably the people over the community. And I think that's the appropriate method that you need to kind of think through this. I wouldn't set the goal at having one. I would set the goal at having 10 in that community. And I would say, if you're not interested in having 10 in that area, then don't buy the one in that area. And yeah, I get that probably since Dayton, where I invest, has so many issues with vacant homes, that has probably shaped my opinion and how I'm answering this, because we have so much work that still needs to be done. And we need so much help in cleaning up this city that is how I view it. But, if you're like Lewis Porter Jr. and you are down in established areas of Florida, then maybe what I'm saying isn't as applicable. Or if you invest in Columbus, which is, light years ahead of Dayton, or even Cincinnati, where, they don't necessarily have the same issues with a significant number of vacant homes, maybe this might not be so applicable. Maybe you can just look broad strokes at neighborhoods and what those neighborhoods are like, how they're trending, and just be a part of a neighborhood and not necessarily an active role in cleaning things up, because there might not be anything to clean up. All right. But yeah, if you're looking in Ohio, then feel free to invest here in little old Dayton, Ohio. We need help. I think the latest figures are there's 10,000 vacant homes, and I think the city has allocated 60 million to start tearing some of those down. But even at 60 million, I think the city is paying about $60,000 per home to tear it down, as crazy as that is. So I think they're only going to tear down around 1,000 homes. I don't know. I haven't read this on any articles. This is stuff that I've heard from the local people, that they've heard from like the local politicians that are actually in charge of handling this money. So it may be true, it may not be true, it may be off the mark, but I do know that there's a lot of money set aside to start tearing down these homes. The exact number of dollars And the exact number of homes that's going to tear down, I'm not so sure of. But at $60,000 a home to tear it down, anybody listening, it would probably be in your best interest to form a contractor company and buy the appropriate machinery to help the city do that, because $60,000 a home, I think, is way too high. Why don't they sell those houses cheap instead of tear them down? That's a great question, Lewis Porter Jr., one that I often ask myself on a daily basis. I have offered to buy multiple of them from them, and they tear them down instead. So the city and the government in general is not one that's too efficient or even too wise. So misappropriation of funds and going around your elbow to get somewhere else is kind of what they seem to do. But yeah, there's 3 properties in particular that I tried to solicit the city for, and they were all since torn down, which is a shame because they needed about 20-25 grand worth of work, and they would have been functioning units of society again. And I think a lot of the 10,000 can still be saved. They just need to be for the right price. Hey, I appreciate you, Runner and Gunner. It's awesome. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for stumbling across the channel, and happy to help. I'm really excited. I don't know if you can see it next to the mini fridge. There's some artwork there. So I'm going to have this place fully decorated here before too long. It's a lot of space. If I weren't worried about getting this camera exactly back the way it is, then I would show you some of the other artwork. It's fun. It's fun to move into a new space. Welcome back, Rick, and greetings from below the border. Hope you're doing well. Let's see here. Any questions you might have? We've been doing this for about 30 minutes. I think that because we've got some contractors in here, I don't know what they plan on doing, but it might get a little loud in here. So if you've got any questions, let's kind of try to go ahead and front load those so that we could make sure that we get a lot out of these minutes. So I'm not so sure how long I'm going to be able to do this. I'm also, one of the things that I'm really impressed, and I would love your feedback as well, if you can hear any road noises, because I'm about, 15 feet from one of the main roads in Dayton that gets a lot of traffic, and I'm really impressed at how quiet it is in here. So generally only when somebody passes with a really big muffler or they're missing some catalytic converters, that's the only time that I think it's loud enough to pick up. So one of the questions that we get a lot is, should you invest in real estate now? And I think that I can easily answer that with a resounding yes. And for all of the reasons that you think you should wait, I would go ahead and pinpoint those exactly and figure out how you can navigate around those in the event that they were to occur, right? One of the main reasons that people ask this question is because they think they have the ability to time the crash or time the market. And it's going to be, they're going to wait until there's just bargain prices on all properties, and then they're going to enter the market. And I have heard this since I started investing in real estate. And when I started back in 2017, I started doing research in 2016. People were convinced that a crash was just around the corner. And it hasn't done anything since that time point except go up. And at this point, if a crash were to occur, I really doubt that we're going to get back to 2016, 2017 prices. So if you look at it, kind of like a stock market graph. I think we've been going up so exponentially that even if we fall, we're not going to reach the point where we were in 2016 or 17. So yes, go ahead and invest in real estate as soon as you really can. One of my favorite ways to think about this is I think it's from a Chinese proverb. At least that's what it said right under the quote, which was the best time to plant a tree is 10 years ago. The second best time is today. And I would say the same goes for real estate investing. Another thing that you should consider are who you are renting the properties that you're investing to. And if the economy crashes and if jobs are lost, then I would look a step further and figure out what you're going to do in that scenario. And our average rent is about $800 per month. To qualify for that, you have to make 3 times that month gross from an income perspective. So that's $2,400 per month. If it's $900, you're looking at 27. I'm doing that right. Yeah, 27. No road noise at all. Thanks, Mom. Yeah, that's really good. That's really cool. So, most entry-level jobs at this point are making that much gross. And I can't possibly imagine in America with no entry-level jobs. So your worst case scenario is still that you have these properties rented out and people that are able to rent these from you. The only thing that I am ever worried about, that I ever don't fully understand how to navigate around, is the loss of a large employer. So if you're familiar with Dayton's history, where we invest, one of the reasons that we have 10,000 vacant homes still in this area is because we lost a significant number of jobs in a very short window. And that just was pretty insurmountable. So as far as like a nationwide economy dip, that's not something that I'm concerned of. An employer vacating an area, that's something that, as a person that rents out residential real estate, lack of employment or the shift of one main employer could be pretty detrimental to the business model. But I don't think there's anything but opportunity in front of you in the event that the market does turn. And I would also say, so long as you're analyzing your properties from a cash flow perspective, then you're going to be okay. I think that if you can, in this market, buy a property, get it on a 30-year fixed loan, and the property cash flows, then it's a good investment. And if the price on that house decreases, and you may have, you could view the numbers as you overpaid by like $20,000 for that property, I wouldn't worry about that because you're locked in for 30 years. And now you've got the ability to go through and buy additional properties at that discounted rate. So it's really a win-win. I would go ahead and get involved and buy this property as soon as possible. Just get into real estate. Awesome. That's great noise. 2,700. Thanks, Rick. Yeah, 2,700. I know that in one of your videos, you covered how to find investment properties. I could not pinpoint that video. Can you either let me know the title or tell me how you go about finding properties? Yes. So I would say that when it comes to finding and purchasing rental properties in any area, I would say that the best way to do it is have multiple streams of deal flow. And I think that is what the video is called, is 7 streams of deal flow. And just like, you hear these financial gurus say that it's always best to have 7 streams of income, I would say it's just as imperative to have about 7 streams of deal flow. I don't remember them all off the top of the head, but there are so many different ways to find deals in real estate. A friend of mine, regularly goes through obituaries on a daily basis and researches the people that are featured in those obituaries to see if he can get on any head start on anything in probate courts. Realtors, wholesalers, just off-market deals via word of mouth. We get a lot of recommendations at this point from people that we have purchased homes from that thought that we treated them fairly. They recommend us to other people that they know that are looking to sell homes. Our contractors are out there advocating for us, and when they come by someone, they often give our information out. We've got one under contract that falls under that umbrella now, and I'm super thankful for it. It's a really good property and a really good location. And then, so you could do some direct mail marketing. We don't do that as much as I would like. I would like to get better at this. Maybe in the future, that could be our next hire, is somebody that is just doing a bunch of direct mail marketing and a bunch of text messages to a particular area that we're looking to acquire more homes in, get pinpointed in that way. So there's all sorts of different ways, and you should be working all of them at the same time. I often talk to people they came across like one property, they are all into it, and then they get really discouraged when it falls through. We have had very unexpectedly 3 deals fall through in the past week and a half. And 2 of those, I was convinced that we were going to close today. However, when it got down to time, for one reason or another, it just didn't occur. So because we have so many leads or deals coming in, we were able to shift gears and focus on other properties just as quickly. But it's really devastating when you don't have that deal flow, when you are fully submerged in working on 1, maybe 2 deals, and those fall through. The amount of time, energy, and effort that you put in on those are really tough to recover from. So having the most amount of leads come in is always best. It's kind of just like a numbers game. Like in sales, they teach you, to always have things coming in your funnel. And for every 100 people you talk to, expect to maybe get 5 to 10 actual sales. And I would say that real estate investing is no different. For every 100 deals that come your way, you might buy 10 of them. But to keep that funnel of 100 full and coming towards you is always best. Yep. Ohio is not one, so that I'm aware of. There's only a couple of different companies that are able to buy those tax deeds. Not widely open to the public. But if you live in one of those states, I agree with you. That's a great way to find deals. All right. Any other questions? Let me mark off that I talked about, should you invest in real estate? Yes, you should. Mortgage loans for self-employed. That's something that comes up a lot. And I still don't know how to talk about it, even though I've been subject to it for 5 years now. Always difficult. Three options to get started investing in real estate. This would be fun to talk about. So let's see here. If I were to restart, what 3 options would I immediately take? I would say the first is to surround yourself with other real estate investors. I think this is just a universally true principle that if there is anything that you want to accomplish or achieve in life, it's always best to surround yourself with people that have already achieved whatever it is that you are after. I mean, just being surrounded by people that have that firsthand experience, that are willing to share that with you, is one of the most powerful things that you could ever do. And I know that a lot of people that are just getting started out think that this is a perceivably insurmountable task, but it's not. And I would be very diligent in not assuming or thinking or letting any negative thought about getting around those types of people find its way into your head. Most people that have a decent track record of success or achieving things behind them, they know the work that it takes, and few and far between are the people that actually seek out and take action on, the words and advice that they say. So one of my good friends, one of the people that I work with regularly, he has transformed our business in a great way. Is a guy that I met off the YouTube channel, and he reached out wanting to speak, and he took massive action on helping me out, and he has, really added a lot of value to our business, and I'm super appreciative of that. But also, he has built a portfolio of over 10 properties very quickly by reaching out, figuring out ways to provide value, and taking a extreme amount of action towards that. So that's what I would say. Surround yourself with the people that have already achieved what it is that you want to, and figure out how they got started, and slowly work on ways that you can first add value to the group of people that you're asking to get questions and or answers from. And the second thing that I would do is I would start saving money really feverishly. If you want to get started in real estate investing, I think the earlier on that you can kind of wrap your head around just how capital intensive of an industry this is. Like, unfortunately, most industries, when they have issues, they can work through them, right? So I don't know anything about coding, so I'm going to speak way out of my element. But when you have an issue in software, then you have to spend a lot of man hours, finding the bugs, fixing it, and writing the code around that, right? Time is involved, but not necessarily any additional money, right? So similarly with real estate investing, even if you are the most skilled, most capable person, you still have to buy the materials. So all problems in real estate have to be solved with additional money. So you have to have as much money as you possibly can. And when you have as much money as you possibly can, it still will not feel like enough. I know I speak pretty regularly with a guy who has a couple hundred properties, and he has very little leverage on these. He's been acquiring these for 20 or 30 years at this point, and he will always describe himself as being very cash poor. He never has enough capital on hand, and I think that's one of the big secrets of real estate investing is since all of the things that could ever go wrong require capital, then the chances of you ever having enough of it is very slim. So one roof, could cost 16, 18,000. Now that's a lot of layers, but nonetheless, and hopefully that doesn't happen to you often. Most roofs should be $4 to $5 grand, but that's not the case always. And when you get hit with big ticket items like that, it's pretty taxing. So surround yourself with the right people, and always have as much money as you can on hand. So that is increasing your current income and decreasing your expenses. Do that all the time, always. And then I would also say that it would benefit you greatly if you are truly setting your sights on being a successful real estate investor or building a real estate investing portfolio. If there's any way that you can either mold, manipulate, or just change industries or change careers and work in one of the many jobs that kind of support the real estate investing industry, then I think that would allow you to submerge yourself in real estate investing. It would allow you to build a network of other real estate investors even more. And it would also just kind of bake in, you providing value to the people that you want to be around while also paying your current bills and living your current lifestyle. So finding a job that you can work specifically to get involved with additional real estate investors. Those would be my 3 options to get started in real estate investing. And please note that there are no courses that I mentioned. There are none of those involved giving anyone money to show you the ropes. Good morning. Anyone get quotes on rates this week on refis from traditional banks? I don't. One of our lenders is still at 4.25, and that's a 20-year amortization period. That was one bank. Another bank, I would not call them a traditional lender, but they do 30-year loans, and we've done a lot of deals with them at this point. They quoted like a 7.25, which is really high, and that was a 30-year fixed. And unfortunately, those loans also come with a 5-year prepayment penalty. So if you get one of those, then you're in for at least 5 years. So even if rates were to fall, you wouldn't be able to refi comfortably. I don't think that's true. I mean, it's not like the companies are corrupt. So I'm assuming that you're talking about like the few different companies that can buy tax liens in the state of Ohio. I think I think controlling it in that manner is not necessarily bad. I think it's not like these tax companies keep all of the tax foreclosures for themselves. They're just the ones that facilitate and put them on the market and sell them. So we've bought like 5 or 6 properties from one of the companies that's able to buy tax liens. Corrupt isn't a word that I would describe. Making it available to every citizen, I don't think is the right answer either. More accessible, more information about how to interact with these companies, maybe, but I don't see the benefit of allowing anybody that is ever interested in buying tax liens to be able to do so. Maybe from a revenue perspective, that would benefit the city because they would be able to collect more taxes because more people would buy those liens. Sure, that would help. But I think, again, speaking from what I have seen happen in Dayton, like Dayton came out with this lot links program in which anyone that wanted to could put a deposit down with the city on a property that was vacant for 2 years, at least 2 years delinquent on taxes, and the utilities were off. The city would do a board of revisions foreclosure on that property. And then, the whole process took like 18 months, which is a really long time. And then when people were getting these properties, the people that weren't real estate investors, that they just knew that they had the option to buy a house for like $1,700 to $2,500. They would get this house, and then when they walked inside it and saw how much disrepair it was in, then they would be completely, taken aback, and the condition of the property would never change because the people that now have the property don't have the ability or the means to repair it. So there's a fine line. Corruption, I'm always slow to throw that out. I think this is out of control. Hey, not all markets are meant to be purchased in. If a market's too hot, move on to the next. We're very movable people. We've got cars, got feet, got bikes. There are good deals, and everything's on the pendulum. So the South Florida market probably up now. It'll get outpaced by someone else soon, and then that market will slow down. This whole thing ebbs and flows, right? So the only reason that Dayton is a really good market right now is because historically it hasn't been, and now the pendulum's swinging in the other direction, where soon it will be a great market, probably as crazy as South Florida in the next 5-10 years. So and then when Dayton is firing on all cylinders, maybe South Florida takes a turn. So I would say go where the deals are. I'm using a hard money loan on a rehab for the first time with a plan to refinance and rent out in the next 4 months. I knew interest rates would go up, but not as quickly as they have. At what rate of return would you consider selling as a flip instead of holding? Yeah, so this is a pretty easy one to do, right? So if you have a dollar amount, like I know most investors have a dollar amount that they want to stay inside of, right? So, one investor that I know, every time he buys a rental, he wants to make at least $300 per month per door out of that property. So you can do the math and you can figure out how how much interest can your deal handle before it falls outside of your parameters? Uh, our number is around 9%, I would say. So our business model would start faltering, and we would need to come up with other things to do if interest rates go over 9%. If they stay under 9%, then we could continue business as usual. So I would, whatever kind of buy box criteria you have now, I would go ahead and kind of do the math backwards and figure out to satisfy all your buy box criteria, how much interest can you pay until the things that you currently view as deals are no longer deals? And I think most people would be pleasantly surprised with how high that number is. The bad news is it's going to eat into your cash flow. But I also wouldn't overlook the fact that cash flow is just one of 4 ways to make money in real estate investing. So you might not be all hard pressed to still come out on the positive side of the transaction over the course of 20, 30 years, even if your cash flow is smaller than you expect it to be. You're still going to get the appreciation. You're still going to get the principal pay down because you are using loans, which is why interest rates matter. And you're still going to get the same tax benefits regardless of what the interest rates are. So over a 20, 30-year period, you're still going to be trending in the positive direction, even though the cash flow is a little bit stifled at the moment. We have one commercial property. We purchased it sometime last year, maybe beforehand. It is a storefront and it has 2 apartments above it. The apartments are going very well, right? We've got systems, we've got processes, we've got experience and how to navigate, manage, and deal with those. The commercial space down below, not so much. It's still vacant. We had a lot of grand ideas about what we were going to do with that space, and none of them came to fruition. So we still have that commercial space, and we're just charging so hard, firing on all cylinders, collectively as a team, running towards acquiring single-family homes. We've got all the systems, processes in place, all the avenues, and all of the right information on how to do that successfully. So every single time we have tried to venture out of that, it just throws some kinks into our daily operating procedures, if you will. So we are, since we want to continue acquiring single family homes, we are focusing there and we are minimizing the amount of times that we step out of those bounds. All right, 17 people on, 53 minutes. It's a pretty good call so far. Pretty good call, pretty good live stream. We're buying 6 properties today, and we are starting soon on that. So I need to go before too long. But if there's any questions in the next couple minutes, happy to answer. Just to circle back on this for a second, I would say that, I've got grandiose plans of spending the rest of my life improving the area here. I am definitely, in love with this region. But if all of the deals dry up and with all the resources, knowledge, and experience that I have, if the amount of value that I can provide this location dries up, if I'm not able to make a perceivable difference, then I would move on to the next area where I think I've got the resources, knowledge, experience, and even persistence to make a perceivable difference in that area. While I don't foresee that to be the case, I just think it's important to think through being willing to move if opportunity dries up. Smash the like button. Thank you, Eric. I agree. Have you ever bought a fire damaged house? Yes, I did a pretty bad job at capturing it all on YouTube, but it's called Project Firehouse 01. I think it's a playlist where we purchased a fire damaged house for about $10,000. We put about $40,000 into it, and it's just recently appraised whenever we switched it over to long-term financing for 180,000. So that was pretty solid. We're happy with that. It's rented out for, I think, $1,300 per month. So it was a win all around. Now, I would say that that is unusual. That is not the norm. We looked at some other fire damaged homes, and they weren't nearly as good of a deal. Now, one of the main reasons that we got that good of a deal and we were able to purchase it for 10,000 is not because that was all it was worth, but I have a relationship with the guy that owned the property, and this is the same gentleman I referred to earlier that has acquired a couple hundred properties over the 20, 30-year time period where this property caught fire and the insurance paid him out a very, very high amount, and he was comfortable just kind of walking away from the property and didn't have any intentions on fixing it and no longer wanted it. So just because I knew him, it was really the right place, the right time. Other fire damaged properties haven't been so heavily discounted as the one that he has sold us. We have one fire damaged house that we're working on at the moment. We purchased it for $60,000. The microwave caught fire, and we're in the process of renovating it. We think it's going to cost about $40,000 to renovate, and we also think that one's going to be worth somewhere in the 140 to 150 range. I'd be pleasantly surprised if it was as high as 180. So it's not too hateful, but they're not necessarily the I'm looking at it from a skewed perspective because that first one we did went so well. But it is a little bit of a headache to go through all the inspections from the county and whatnot. But I respect that because we definitely want to do it the right way. How difficult is it for a 60-year-old retiree to get loans? I have a $280,000 HELOC, and I'm trying to build as big a portfolio as quickly as possible. I don't think it should be difficult for you at all. I think loans are based on your monthly revenues and your monthly expenses. So I don't know. I would tell anyone that the first 2 years of investing in real estate investing is pretty rough because most of your traditional banks don't want to count the rental income as income until you've been doing it for 2 years or more. But again, this is always dependent on the bank and not necessarily, there's no rule across the board for everyone. So even though you've got these rentals and you've got a loan on them and it's bringing in money, you can't count the money as income, and the debt with that property will still count against you. So that's not ideal, right? So that's hard to navigate for a while. But as soon as you pass that 2 year threshold, 2 years tax returns, then things start getting really easy. And that's for everybody, regardless of what age you start at. And hey, shoot me an email if you'd like. Let's see here. Here's my email. Happy to answer in more detail or point you in the right direction. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and call it a day and head over to this title company and start buying some properties. I really appreciate you all. And next week, Friday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard, I will be right here, hopefully in a more presentable office, ready to answer any questions you have. So thanks. And as always, go out there, look for some good deals, buy them, and improve your community. And I will talk to you next week.